Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Click and Mortar podcast. Mike and Dustin, your hosts here again, to talk all things digital marketing and advertising. This is not a background of mine. I'm actually remote today, so you may notice a little bit different of a background if you've watched us before. And I have the luxury of working remote this week, but we're still doing the podcast. We're coming at you with some good stuff here. Very good stuff. We wanted to talk this week about budgets and budget allocation. We often get the question about budgets and how budgets should be allocated and spent across all digital marketing campaigns. It's a really good question. It's a very general question. We have some specifics and rules that we like to get into and we like to set forth, namely an 80-20 rule for 80 to what's working and 20 to experimentation. But I'm going to kick it to Dustin to get into that a little bit because we had a client recently who came to us with this dilemma, if you will, and they wanted to test a lot of different things and really get a bunch of campaigns going out there and looking to us for direction on how to handle that. And we came back with what one of our rules of thumbs is, which is the 80-20 rule. So Dustin, kick it to you for a little deep dive on the 80-20 rule.
Absolutely. So we're very focused on ROI. And so when we first engage, that is what we're hyper focused on, because that's what's going to fund all the testing and the long-term relationships. So we're dead focused on that. And when we do find success, which is usually rather quickly, what we'll do is create an 80-20 rule. So when you start seeing success, it creates a lot of excitement, which is great, and a lot of testing ideas. What we've seen happen very quickly is we'll see great ROI, and over 4 to 6 weeks, we start testing everything and everything that comes to mind. And all of a sudden, we're 80-20 testing and 20% on ROI, and all of a sudden performance tanks and everyone's freaking out. So we've done this enough to where now we have a framework that we play within to where once we find that ROI and we'll set these benchmarks, is it a 2x? Is it a 5x? What is that North Star metric that you want that we know is success? Once we achieve that and get above that and sustain it, we then introduce the 80-20 rule where 80% of our budget goes to that ROI driving campaign. And then we have a parking lot of ideas of all the fun things, campaign ideas, audiences we can test, all the things that we could test. We'll then allocate 20% of the budget there. We'll get it running. 7 out of 10 will fail, but 3 out of 10 will be those 5, 6, 7x ROI tests that we fold into the main stuff. So the reason why we do it is just so we don't over allocate to the testing or the ROI driving. We have a little bit of freedom to test any and all ideas and be okay if it fails, if it drives 0 ROAS, but we will find winners that we can fold into the winning. And if you want to test more ideas, that's great. We just need to make sure that the overall budget rises so that we can fund those while still increasing the funding and keeping that 80-20 discipline on what's working.
Yeah, I want to call out a couple key points that you talked about and is crucial here, and another thing that came up. So the first is know your targets and where you want to get to from a ROAS perspective. So you need to be at a 4 to 6 ROAS. Know that. You have to have that kind of return on those campaigns. That's the one that's ROI positive for you. That's what you're going for, and then you can double down on those campaigns. The other thing is, let's say you're just starting. You don't have a best foot forward yet. You don't have that campaign that is performing, or with a little help could perform better. My input there would be to still put your assumption of what your best foot forward is going to be, put that out there first. And then you have to do some more testing to get to that ROI positive campaign. What would be your input on that, Dustin? Let's say it's a cold start and you don't quite yet know what the ROI positive campaign or group of 80 is going to be, right? So what would you agree with my point of view there, or would you add something to that or disagree?
Yeah, I agree, and it comes down to kind of our framework when working with new people that just haven't ran ads, and really it's leaning to that search intent. So there's going to be search involved. Let's get people searching for that product or service, and then lean into retargeting heavily on social platforms. It'll take 60, 90 days, in some instances 180, depending on your budget, but through this time period is we'll start defining the benchmarks. And once we nail them down, Google might be performing well, Meta might be a certain ad, but we'll start seeing these, and then after about 90 days, we'll have that tried and true, what drives that 4, 5, 6x ROAS, and then we have the 80-20 rule. It just takes 90 days to set the benchmarks, identify what they are and what's driving it, to then be able to benchmark it. And that takes some discipline, and you're going to burn some cash, but education isn't free.
We all are learning that, that's for sure. So the moral of the story here is, I like that you said discipline. Discipline. When you find that ROI positive effort, lean into that. Lean as deeply into that as you can and push the gas as far as you can so you can get to that while maintaining your targets, right? Wherever your ROAS is. Really try to do that and then earn the right to test everything. Too many people come into the game, they want to test everything. You have to earn the right to do that first. Stay disciplined to find that ROI, and then you can earn the right to do that. And have a list. Have a whole set of campaigns that you want to test and you want to run, and how grand and amazing it will be when you can run all those campaigns. But earn the right to do that by getting ROI positive first. Everyone will be a lot happier that way. So please apply that 80-20 rule. Super critical. What else, Dustin? Anything else on this while we're on the topic?
No, I think we've touched on everything. I think the biggest thing to get started is you hit the nail on the head. You have to know what to track. And I think as we engage with most people don't know what that North Star metric is, let alone what it should be. Should it be a 3x ROAS? Should it so first and foremost, get an understanding of what is your North Star metric and what does break even look like and what does it look like to be profitable. Once you can find that, then it's kind of easy to start identifying what's driving success and not.
A great place to start is booking a discovery call with us because we love diving into this. So click a book a discovery call on these pages and anywhere on our website. That part is free. We love to talk about these things with our prospective clients. Get into this. We'll even hopefully get to the point where we can tell you where to start on that conversation. So don't be shy. Book a call with us. We'd love to dive into this. Again, we love doing these analyses and steering the top part of the strategy for everyone. So don't forget the 80-20 rule. Earn the right to test everything you want to test. With that, we're out. Thanks for joining the Click and Mortar podcast this week. I'm Mike.
Dustin?
That's yes. We'll talk to you next week. We appreciate it. Again, click that discovery call button, and we'd love to jump on with you. All right. See you next time.